Hello, my loves. Today we're going to look at some more Reddit stories, and if you've enjoyed a Reddit story, why don't you consider hitting the subscribe button? Maybe that's the notification bell too, and let's start with today's story. A story about unrequited love. A story about unrequited love. This story is about a guy named Tom and the girlfriend of his dreams, Emily. Tom and Emily have been close friends for a long time, having been in the same class together since middle school. Tom always admired Emily for her beautiful appearance, strong personality, and gentle soul. However, Tom always kept his feelings to himself for fear of losing the precious friendship they had. Every time he saw Emily smile, Tom felt happy inside without daring to say it. As time passed, Tom kept his feelings a secret and felt increasingly uncomfortable when he could not share his feelings with Emily. One day, Tom decided to change and tell Emily about his feelings. He told himself that if he didn't say anything, he would never know what Emily felt about him. One weekend afternoon, Tom invited Emily out for coffee to talk. Under the warm sunset, Tom sipped a cup of coffee and said the things he always kept in his heart. He talked about his deep feelings for Emily, about the pain in his heart when he secretly loved her for a long time. Emily was surprised and silent for a moment, then she gently placed her hand on Tom's shoulder and said that she knew this for a long time. Emily explained that she always felt Tom's special care for her, but she was also afraid of losing the good friendship they had. She says that although she doesn't have the same loving feelings as Tom, she still wishes to maintain their close friendship. With understanding and courage from Emily, Tom realized that even if they did not become husband and wife, they could still keep their precious relationship. They continue to be truly close friends, sharing everything from joy to sadness, and Tom gradually finds comfort in Emily's presence in all its forms. The story of Tom and Emily's unrequited love does not have a fairy tale ending, but it is a lesson in understanding, courage, and the value of true friendship in life. Story: 3 months I've been single. It's been 3 months today that I became a single man again. For the better part of 6 years, Celia and I have been serious and exclusive. We've been kicking around the idea of marriage, but her job as a union negotiator keeps her on the road about 25 weeks a year while I run a CNC shop with a dozen employees. We're both considered successful, and neither of us thought a piece of paper with the government's approval stamped on it would make our life better. We don't have kids and neither of us has family in the area, although her parents call her at least once a week. Mine are gone and my sister died a dozen years ago in a traffic accident. We vacationed together, played and enjoyed life together. We were never in each other's hair, and even when she was on the road for weeks at a time, every day or two she'd call me or vice versa. We were simpatico. Once I made up my mind 6 years ago, there was never anyone else for me even though the opportunities existed. She and I agreed we would share our love with no other. Until the 4th day of the 4th month of the 4th year of 2020. I was awakened by a phone call just before 5 in the morning. I guessed it was Celia because she was 2 time zones ahead of me and she knew I woke up at 5 a.m. "Good morning, babe," I said as I answered without looking. The voice was hers, but anger and attitude was not. "James called me," she said, referring to our closest friend who lives in another part of the city. "Is everything all right?" I asked, concerned, both by the timbre of her clipped words and the sound of sadness I'd heard before. "No, Mike. He told me you were out with someone. He told me he saw you buying clothes with someone he'd never seen you with before." "Son of a bitch," was all I got out before she went on. "I'm going say what I have to say. He was curious and saw you pay for everything and help her carry it to your truck. You two kept looking over your shoulders like you didn't want anyone to see you. He followed you, because you know how James is, and he saw you take her to dinner and then to her home. He waited for an hour, but she didn't come back out, and once all the lights were off, he went home, knowing she was spending the night. He talked with his wife, and it took them 2 days before they called me to tell me what he saw. Pack up all my stuff and put it in storage. I'm never coming back to that house again. I trusted you, and that trust is now gone. You were I interrupted her and tried to explain, but after my first words, "Let me explain," I heard click. She'd hung up on me. I won't detail the extents I went to in an effort to tell my side to her. All contact was cut between her and I, James and his wife and I, and any of a number of common friends we had. All the ways you can think of to contact and explain, I tried. Just so someone knows, what James said was true, but the story he told was without context. James did not know I was buying clothes for a woman who worked for me. Her boyfriend had slapped her around a good bit. She came to me to tell me she was quitting and moving to Minnesota to live with her aunt and get away from the abusive relationship. As we were talking, she told me what had happened to her and how going home for her to that man was dangerous. She asked if she could sleep in her car in the gated parking lot of my company. I told her no, that she could stay with me and I'd personally keep her safe. While she sat in my office, I booked a flight for the next morning. Since it was late in the day, I asked if she wanted me to escort her to get anything from where she was living, and she told me most of it had been destroyed in his drunken fit of rage the previous night. Even her car had a broken windscreen. Most of my employees had gone home, including my assistant, so I told her we were going shopping. She tried to stop me, but she'd been a valued member of my company for more than 3 years and she could program as well as anyone. I hated seeing her puffy eyes and defeated shoulders. She was a valued employee, and I would miss having her on the floor. It was the least I could do. We went to the store and got her a few changes of clothes, some toiletries and other things she'd need for the next week while she settled in with her aunt. We kept looking around because her phone kept bleeding for attention from him. She refused to answer. After a quick meal, I took her back to my place. I have a couple of spare rooms and one is made up for friends. While we talked, I wrote her a glowing letter of recommendation she could use for when she got where she was going. It might have been her first good night's sleep where she felt safe in a long time, and I dropped her off at the airport and was back in my office at the usual time. Now, looking back, I should have called and told Celia what I was doing, but I was only thinking of helping someone who needed help. I didn't want to spread my former employee's dirty laundry over the phone. I thought telling Celia what I'd done when she returned would be good enough. I didn't expect James would be telling her what he'd seen out of context. I didn't think Celia would think I'd ever step out on her. I didn't think my life would be the hell it has become. Story, a kind of sad love story. In May of 2017, I met a girl in-game. To protect her identity, we will call her Diana, maybe between the 20th to 25th of May. In the match, I noticed that everyone was saying she was a girl because of a mistake a player made, thinking she was a guy, lol. As the match ended, I went to private message to talk to Diana, just to establish a conversation after what happened. She ended up being a nice girl, to be honest. After 1 hour of talking, we shared various experiences in the game and some opinions about it. It was time to go to bed for both, so we said goodbye to each other and disconnected. As some weeks went by, we had already established a kind of friendship between us, a weird one. A lot of things happened during June, my 9th grade graduation, some friendship problems with a friend, depression from leaving high school, birthday, really, a lot of problems were in my head at that time. But I really didn't give a f*** about all of that. Until the worst arrived. Diana told me she wanted to tell me something very important and invited me to a private room. After about 30 seconds of uncomfortable silence, she said, "I am worried about something." "About what?" I asked. "I'm getting hospitalized soon." The awkward silence returned, but only for 5 seconds. "When?" "Why?" "Tomorrow, maybe at night. I have heart problems, they are getting worse." "Are you going to be okay?" "I don't know." After she was going to leave, I didn't have much to say, but I dumbly said what I felt for her. "I already know what you're thinking." And just after that, I barely remember her message saying, "I love you too." Weird, isn't it? I'll continue the other part because I need some rest for now. I haven't slept in a while. Teletubby back, where was I? After a month and a half of knowing each other, we started to talk a lot more often. I always told her compliments to somehow distract her from her problems. Sometimes I skipped classes just to talk to her somewhere else in school. Maybe I was being manipulated by love, or the interesting fact that Diana was the first girlfriend I had in my 15 years of existence. On the 6th of August, I received a message from Diana saying that she was going to get operated on. I told her everything will be okay, you are in good hands, nothing is going to hurt you. Then she thanked me, I am relaxed now, thanks 3. I said a simple, you're welcome, and her always common but lovely, I love you. Hey, my doctor says it's time. Now that I'm relaxed, I'm not worried anymore. CYA:/, that was the last thing that I heard from her that day. I couldn't sleep that night, I was very, very worried instead of thinking she was fine. The next day after school, I went directly to my house, because the project went straight to log into the game. She was online. Yes, she is fine. Hi Diana, how was it? What happened? Hi, I'm fine, you were right. Although I have pain in my chest, but nothing else. I was really worried about you, I didn't sleep last night. I promise I'm fine, don't worry. We started talking for a while about each other. Story: I'm in love with my best friend and I don't know if she likes me back. I'm currently a 21-year-old female in college, and I met this girl who recently became my best friend. We started hanging out more during the spring semester and we just instantly clicked, hanging out in the same friend group. Within this group, we started flirting in front of our other friends as a joke, and this continued for a while. I have always identified as straight and have only thought about dating guys my whole life. However, since I've become friends with her, I've been questioning myself if I like her in a different way. She's very touchy-feely with me. We're always hugging or on top of each other, taking naps together at school, etc. This is when I started liking the affection from her and constantly craving it. During this whole time, I had no idea if she even liked girls or not. Then, on the last day of school, she told me she's bi and that she might like girls. When she told me this, my heart raced with excitement. First, because she was comfortable enough to tell me, and second, because I might not be crazy and she actually could be interested in me. I've always gotten vibes from her that she might be interested, but I think she believes I'm 100% straight, so I don't know if that affected our relationship. It was really new for me to have these feelings of attraction for a girl, so I didn't really want to say anything about my sexuality because I literally have no idea. I don't like other girls, I just like her. We then basically started hanging out the whole summer, meeting whenever we could in our busy schedules, which was at least once a week. One day, while hanging out, I told her how I kissed one of my girlfriends on a drunken night out as a joke, just to see how she would react. This is when it clicked for her that I might not be completely straight, as I could see the shock on her face. We continued hanging out the whole summer, cuddling in bed, calling each other baby, and she would say I'm her girlfriend. I've never outright discussed my sexuality with her as both our families are very religious, and it's not something we could make public. So, we're basically stuck in the closet. We say we're dating as a joke all the time and play along with it to our friends, but I ended up catching real feelings. Fast forward, it's now the fall semester, and she's gotten very social and friendly with other people. I tend to get jealous sometimes when I see her with other people, even though she's literally with me 24/7, every second of the day. She recently told me how she finds one of the guys in our class cute, and that really bothered me. I would tell her, wow, so you're cheating on me now, and she would laugh it off and think it's a joke. I get so frustrated that she's interested in these other guys and acts like she's obsessed with them. She's so affectionate with me, and we're always touching, holding hands. I'll be holding her waist when we're waiting in line, holding her face, caressing her hands, etc. I get confused because I don't know if this is how best friends should act. I really don't think so. Moving on, we went to a party one night at the beginning of the fall semester and got pretty drunk. There were some pretty close calls in the summer where I thought we were going to kiss, so I made it my mission that night that I was finally going to do it. My whole plan went perfectly, and I finally got her alone. I'm pretty sure she's the one who initiated the kiss. I was planning on kissing her at that exact moment, but she went for the kiss first. I kissed her back, and we broke it off as some other people walked in to check on us literally 2 seconds after we broke it off. We spent the whole night giggling and being physically affectionate. When it was time to go home and I was waiting for my Uber, she was kissing my face with little pecks, kissing my neck, and even bit my neck. It was really difficult for her to leave me that night as she was going home with another one of our friends accompanying her. She asked me why I wasn't kissing her back while still clearly drunk, but it was in front of a lot of other people, and I'm not ready for anyone to see me kissing a girl. That same night, when she got home, I texted her about how she was a good kisser. That's the only time we acknowledged the kiss. Story, single and thriving with a best friend. In the vibrant city of Chicago, lived a man named Max. At 31, Max was a successful graphic designer, known for his creativity and dedication. He lived in a trendy apartment downtown and had a close-knit group of friends. Among them, his best friend, Jenna, stood out. Jenna was not only his confidant, but also his partner in all adventures. Both Max and Jenna were single and often found themselves discussing the societal pressures they faced regarding their relationship status. One sunny Saturday, Max and Jenna decided to spend the day exploring the city. They started with brunch at their favorite cafe, where they enjoyed their usual eggs Benedict and lattes. As they sat by the window, Jenna brought up a recent family gathering. "You know, my aunt asked me again why I'm still single," Jenna said, rolling her eyes. "I told her I'm happy with my life as it is, but she just didn't get it." Max nodded sympathetically. "I get the same questions all the time. It's like people think we need to be in a relationship to be complete." Max and Jenna cherished their independence. Being single allowed them to make spontaneous plans without having to consider a partner's schedule. They could travel, take on new hobbies, and focus on their careers without compromise. "Remember our impromptu road trip to Nashville last month?" Max grinned. "We decided on a whim and had the best time." "That's the kind of freedom I love." Jenna laughed. "Exactly. And we didn't have to check in with anyone else. Just packed our bags and went." Max and Jenna's friendship was a cornerstone of their lives. They supported each other through thick and thin, creating a bond that was both deep and unwavering. They invested time and effort into their friendship, making it as fulfilling as any romantic relationship. "Do you remember how you helped me prepare for that big presentation?" Jenna asked. "I was so nervous, but your pep talk made all the difference." Max smiled. "Of course. And you were there for me when I launched my freelance business. I couldn't have done it without your support." Both Max and Jenna had a wide range of interests. Max loved photography and spent weekends capturing the city's beauty, while Jenna was passionate about cooking and often experimented with new recipes. Being single gave them the time and space to fully engage in their hobbies. "I've started a photo series on urban landscapes," Max said, showing Jenna some recent shots on his phone. "It's been so rewarding to dive into this project." Jenna nodded. "And I'm taking a pastry class next week. It's something I've always wanted to do, and now I have the time." Max and Jenna valued their financial independence. They made their own financial decisions, from saving for future goals to indulging in personal treats. This autonomy allowed them to live life on their terms. "I've been saving up for a solo trip to Japan," Max shared. "I'm planning to go next spring." "That's amazing," Jenna exclaimed. "I've been thinking about investing in a small food truck business. I want to bring my culinary creations to more people." For Max and Jenna, Happiness wasn't defined by their relationship status. They found joy in their accomplishments, their friendship, and the adventures they shared. They believed that being single allowed them to live authentically and pursue their true passions without external pressures. Happiness isn't about fitting into someone else's expectations, Max said. It's about living a life that feels right for us. Jenna agreed. We're creating our own paths, and that's what matters. As Max and Jenna walked through the city, enjoying the day in each other's company, they felt a sense of contentment. Their journey of embracing singlehood and supporting each other was a testament to the power of friendship, independence, and living authentically. Max and Jenna's story serves as a reminder that being single is not a problem to be fixed, but a choice to be celebrated. It's an opportunity to grow, pursue passions, and build meaningful relationships on their own terms. For them, singlehood is not a state of lack, but a canvas for creating a rich and fulfilling life. Story: A Little Love Story. Freshman year of high school, this girl named Taylor asked if I wanted to date her. I said no, explaining that I had a girlfriend. She asked again, and I declined once more. 2 weeks later, I broke up with my girlfriend. My friend, Jerry, asked me who I could mess with next because I was feeling lonely. He mentioned Taylor, and I told him she had already tried to get at me, and I wasn't interested. He laughed and asked me to repeat what I said in a sarcastic voice. I did and didn't think much of it. 3 weeks later, I found out Jerry and Taylor were talking, and she claimed I had lied about her hitting on me. I didn't really care and let them be. They dated for 8 months, and Jerry was a close friend. A year and a half after they broke up, Taylor and I started talking as friends. Our conversations took a provocative turn and occasionally became sexual. It grew from that to meeting parents, doing relationship things, talking 24/7, and saying I love you, seeming to care a lot. Jerry had no idea, but I thought he wouldn't care. One day, about 4 months ago, Jerry, Fred, another close friend, and I took acid. Jerry, unprovoked, started talking about how good Taylor was in bed. He even showed me videos of them having sex. He still didn't know Taylor and I were talking. He bet me $100 that I couldn't have sex with her within a month. We were all high, and he called me a pussy, so I agreed. I told Taylor about the whole thing, and she hated me at first, but still came over because I was honest. Jerry found out about the situation 2 days after he made the bet. He eavesdropped on a conversation between me and Tyler, another close friend, on PlayStation. I was asking Tyler if I should tell Jerry or not because I didn't want to hurt his feelings or have Taylor come over at all. Tyler said I should just tell him, and I agreed. The next day, Jerry tried to coerce me into saying it because he didn't know that I knew he was aware. I told him, and he said I was wrong for keeping it a secret, even though I was looking out for his feelings. Taylor was reading his texts to me, and he was obviously hurt. I was trying to be considerate. Taylor still came over, but my mom busted in, and she had an anxiety attack. We didn't have sex. We cried together about everything. She left early due to the anxiety, but continued talking to me as if we were in a relationship afterward. She told me there was a low chance of us having an actual relationship, but constantly hinted that there was a chance. She did things like look at apartments, dogs, and baby names with me. She said I couldn't let Jerry and the others know she was still talking to me, so I kept it under wraps. They were still acting funny towards me, so I cut my close friends off for her. She was all I had. She cut me off 3 weeks ago, saying I didn't give her enough attention. Jerry used to cheat on her multiple times, and she would still go back to him. And she stopped talking to me because of attention? We were both in a bad place mentally, and she broke me down after building me up. She's so grimy and carefree about the situation, too. She won't tell me why she did it. Now I'm friendless and alone with nothing to look forward to. I told her many times she was what I looked forward to, and she said it was sweet and that she would never leave me. Then she blamed me for her leaving and claimed she did nothing wrong. All females disgust me. She took 1.5 years to convince me she was different, and she broke my trust completely. If you have a girlfriend now, cheat on her and break her heart. For the boys. All girls are the same inside, no matter how much they portray being different. They will abandon you without a second thought. Heartless creatures. Story: Redefining Singlehood. In the vibrant city of San Francisco, lived a man named David. At 29, David was a successful software developer, known for his innovative solutions and dedication to his work. He had a stylish apartment in the heart of the city, a close-knit group of friends, and a plethora of hobbies that kept him busy. Despite his fulfilling life, David often found himself at the center of discussions about his single status. One evening, during a family gathering, David's aunt leaned over and asked, "David, you're such a catch. Why are you still single?" David smiled politely, hiding his frustration. "I'm happy with my life right now. Being single allows me to focus on my career and passions." The question lingered in David's mind long after the gathering. It seemed society viewed being single as a problem that needed solving, but David saw it differently. He decided to explore and articulate why being single was not only okay, but also a fulfilling choice. David had always valued his independence. Being single allowed him to make decisions without having to consider a partner's needs or preferences. He could travel spontaneously, take on new challenges at work, and spend his free time however he chose. This freedom enabled him to grow personally and professionally. "Remember when I decided to backpack through Europe last summer?" David said to his friends during a casual get-together. "I booked the tickets the week before and left without any second thoughts. Being single gave me that freedom." David cherished his friendships deeply. He had a diverse group of friends who shared his interests and supported him through thick and thin. Being single allowed him to invest time and energy into these relationships, creating a strong support network. "I have time to help my friends move, celebrate their successes, and support them during tough times," David explained. These friendships are incredibly meaningful and fulfilling. David had a wide range of interests, from rock climbing to playing the guitar to coding side projects. Being single gave him the time and space to explore these hobbies fully. He joined a rock climbing gym, started a local band with friends, and developed an app that he had been passionate about for years. "I love the freedom to dive into my passions without feeling guilty about neglecting a partner," David said. Growing up, David had seen the financial struggles his parents faced and learned the importance of financial independence. Being single gave him control over his finances, allowing him to save, invest, and spend as he saw fit. He enjoyed the freedom of making his own financial decisions and planning for his future. "I've been able to save for my dream of buying a house in the city," David shared. "And I don't have to consult anyone else about it." For David, happiness and success were not defined by a relationship status. He found joy in his accomplishments, his friendships, and his personal growth. He believed that being single allowed him to live authentically and pursue his true passions without external pressures. "Happiness isn't about fitting into someone else's expectations," David said. "It's about living a life that feels right for me." As David shared his insights with his friends and family, they began to see his perspective. They realized that his choice to remain single was not out of necessity, but out of a desire to live a fulfilling and independent life. David's story serves as a reminder that being single is not a problem to be fixed, but a valid and fulfilling choice. It's an opportunity to grow, pursue passions, and build meaningful relationships on one's own terms. David's journey of embracing singlehood is a testament to the power of self-love, independence, and the endless possibilities that lie ahead when one chooses to live authentically. For David, and many like him, singlehood is not a state of lack but a canvas for creating a rich and meaningful life. Story: A Love Confession. At 30 years old, Nathan had built a comfortable life for himself in the bustling city of Chicago. He worked as a software engineer, had a close-knit group of friends, and lived in a cozy apartment downtown. But amidst all his accomplishments, one thing eluded him: love. Nathan had always been shy and introverted, often finding it hard to express his feelings. But there was one person who had captured his heart for years: his best friend, Emily. Emily and Nathan had known each other since college. They shared countless memories, from late-night study sessions to spontaneous road trips. Nathan cherished their friendship, but over time, his feelings for Emily grew into something deeper. Yet, he never found the courage to tell her, fearing it might ruin their bond. One crisp autumn evening, as the city streets glowed with the warm colors of fall, Nathan decided it was time to take a chance. He couldn't keep his feelings bottled up any longer. He planned a small gathering at his apartment with their close friends, hoping to create a perfect moment to confess his love to Emily. As the night unfolded, laughter and conversations filled the room. Emily, with her radiant smile and infectious laughter, was the center of attention, as usual. Nathan watched her, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. He rehearsed his words in his mind, trying to find the right moment to pull her aside. Finally, as the evening drew to a close and their friends began to leave, Nathan asked Emily to stay for a bit longer. They sat on his balcony, overlooking the city lights, wrapped in the warmth of their shared blanket. Emily sensed something was on Nathan's mind. "Nathan, is everything okay?" she asked, her eyes full of concern. Nathan took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. "Emily, there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time." Emily looked at him, curiosity and a hint of apprehension in her eyes. "What is it?" Nathan's heart raced as he spoke. "Emily, you've been my best friend for years. You've always been there for me, through every high and low. And over time, I've realized that my feelings for you have grown into something more than friendship. I've fallen in love with you." There was a moment of silence that felt like an eternity to Nathan. He watched Emily's face, trying to gauge her reaction. She looked surprised, but not upset. A mix of emotions played across her face as she processed his words. "Nathan," she began, her voice soft, "I had no idea you felt this way." Nathan nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. "I've been afraid to tell you because I didn't want to risk our friendship. But I can't keep these feelings to myself anymore. You mean too much to me." Emily reached out and took his hand, her touch sending a reassuring warmth through him. "Nathan, I value our friendship more than anything. And I've always cared about you deeply. This is a lot to take in, but I need some time to think about it." Nathan felt a mix of relief and anxiety. "I understand, Emily. Take all the time you need. I just needed you to know how I feel." The following days were a whirlwind of emotions for Nathan. He tried to stay busy with work, but his thoughts kept drifting back to Emily and their conversation. He feared he might have jeopardized their friendship, but he also felt a sense of liberation from finally being honest about his feelings. A week later, Emily called Nathan and asked to meet at their favorite coffee shop. Nathan's heart raced as he made his way there, not knowing what to expect. When he arrived, Emily greeted him with a warm smile, easing some of his nerves. "Nathan," she began, "I've thought a lot about what you said. Our friendship means the world to me, and I don't want to lose it. But I've also realized that I have feelings for you too. I've been so focused on protecting our friendship that I didn't see what was right in front of me." Nathan's heart swelled with hope. "Emily, you have no idea how much this means to me." Emily smiled, her eyes sparkling with emotion. "Let's take this one step at a time. I want to explore what we could be, together. But no matter what happens, I want us to always be honest with each other." Nathan nodded, feeling a wave of happiness wash over him. "I promise, Emily. No more hiding my feelings." As they left the coffee shop, walking hand in hand, Nathan felt a sense of contentment and excitement for the future. He had taken a leap of faith, and it had brought him closer to the woman he loved. Their journey was just beginning, and whatever lay ahead, he knew they would face it together. Story: Thriving at 30. In the vibrant city of Austin, Texas, lived a woman named Emma. At 30, Emma had a successful career as a graphic designer, a cozy apartment filled with art and plants, and a close circle of friends. Despite her accomplishments and fulfilling life, Emma often found herself reflecting on her single status, especially during social gatherings and family events. One crisp autumn evening, Emma attended a dinner party at her friend Sarah's house. As the evening progressed, conversations naturally turned to relationships. Sarah, who was recently engaged, turned to Emma and asked, "So, Emma, are you seeing anyone?" Emma smiled politely, feeling a familiar twinge of discomfort. "No, not right now. I'm just focusing on myself and my career." The responses varied, but the underlying sentiment was clear. Many people around her believed that being single at 30 was something that needed to be fixed. Emma left the party feeling a mix of frustration and determination. She didn't want to let societal expectations define her happiness. The next morning, Emma decided to embrace her single life fully. She made a list of goals and dreams she had been putting off and set out to achieve them. The first item on her list was to travel solo to a place she had always wanted to visit, Japan. A few weeks later, Emma found herself in Tokyo, surrounded by the city's dazzling lights and vibrant culture. She wandered through ancient temples, savored exquisite sushi, and marveled at the cherry blossoms in full bloom. Each day was an adventure, and she felt a newfound sense of freedom and empowerment. One evening, while exploring a tranquil garden, Emma struck up a conversation with a fellow traveler named Luca, who was also exploring Japan solo. They shared stories of their travels, dreams, and the paths that had led them to Japan. Luca admired Emma's courage and independence, and they quickly became friends. Back in Austin, Emma's life continued to flourish. She threw herself into her work with renewed passion, taking on challenging projects and earning recognition for her creativity. She also started painting again, a hobby she had neglected for years, and even showcased her work in a local art gallery. Emma also joined a community yoga class, where she found a supportive group of people who shared her interests. Through yoga, she discovered a sense of inner peace and balance that helped her navigate life's challenges. She realized that being single allowed her the freedom to explore her passions and grow as an individual. One day, while attending a local farmer's market, Emma ran into Luca, who had recently moved to Austin. They were thrilled to reconnect and spent the afternoon reminiscing about their time in Japan. Their friendship blossomed, and they started exploring the city together, from trying out new restaurants to hiking in the nearby hills. As months passed, Emma and Luca grew closer. They supported each other's dreams and celebrated their individual achievements. One evening, while watching the sunset from a hilltop, Luca turned to Emma and said, "You know, meeting you has been one of the best parts of my journey. I admire your strength and independence." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of contentment. "Thank you, Luca. I feel the same way. But what's important is that we both continue to grow and pursue our passions, whether we're together or apart." Their relationship, built on mutual respect and independence, was different from anything Emma had experienced before. She realized that being single at 30 had given her the time and space to understand herself better and build a life she loved. Years later, Emma looked back on her journey with pride. She had embraced her single life, traveled the world, and pursued her passions. She had learned that happiness wasn't tied to a relationship status, but to living authentically and fully. Emma's story serves as an inspiration to others who feel pressured by societal expectations. At 30, she had discovered that singlehood was not a limitation but an opportunity to thrive, grow, and create a fulfilling life on her own terms. Story: Finding Strength in Solitude. In the bustling city of Seattle lived a man named Daniel. At 33, Daniel was a successful architect known for his innovative designs and attention to detail. He lived in a stylish apartment downtown and enjoyed a life filled with friends, hobbies, and adventures. Despite his fulfilling life, there was one question that seemed to follow him everywhere: why are you still single? Daniel had been in a few serious relationships over the years, but none had worked out. His friends were mostly married or in long-term relationships, and family gatherings often involved subtle, and not so subtle, comments about his single status. While these remarks stung, Daniel was determined not to let them define his happiness. One rainy afternoon, Daniel decided to take a break from his hectic schedule and visit a small, cozy cafe he had recently discovered. As he sipped his coffee and watched the raindrops race down the window, he reflected on his life. He realized that he had always been someone who found joy in solitude and personal growth. He decided to embrace his single life and focus on the things that made him happy. Daniel started by making a list of personal goals and adventures he wanted to embark on. At the top of his list was a solo trip to Iceland, a place he had always dreamed of visiting. A month later, Daniel found himself standing on the black sand beaches of Vik, feeling the cool Atlantic breeze against his face. The breathtaking landscapes, with their glaciers, waterfalls, and volcanic formations, filled him with a sense of awe and wonder. During his travels, Daniel met other solo adventurers from around the world. He bonded with a fellow traveler named Sophie, who was also exploring Iceland on her own. They shared stories of their journeys and dreams, forming a friendship that enriched their experiences. Sophie admired Daniel's courage to travel alone and pursue his passions, and their conversations helped Daniel see the beauty in his solitary path. Back in Seattle, Daniel returned to his routine with a renewed sense of purpose. He threw himself into his work, taking on challenging projects that pushed the boundaries of his creativity. He also took up photography, capturing the city's architectural marvels and natural beauty through his lens. His photos garnered attention, and he was invited to exhibit his work at a local gallery. One evening, while attending the opening of his photo exhibition, Daniel ran into an old college friend, Kevin. They hadn't seen each other in years and quickly fell into an easy conversation. Kevin was intrigued by Daniel's stories of solo travel and personal growth. They exchanged numbers and began meeting up for coffee and hikes, enjoying each other's company without any pressure or expectations. As months passed, Daniel's life continued to flourish. He found joy in his solitude and fulfillment in his pursuits. He and Kevin grew closer, and their friendship deepened into something more. Daniel appreciated that their relationship was built on mutual respect and understanding, allowing both of them to maintain their independence while sharing their lives. One day, as they stood on a hilltop overlooking the city, Kevin turned to Daniel and said, "Daniel, being with you feels like an adventure. I admire your strength and the way you've embraced your life. I'm glad we reconnected." Daniel smiled, feeling a sense of contentment and clarity. "Thank you, Kevin. I'm glad too. But remember, our happiness comes from within. We're choosing to share our journeys, not complete them." In the end, Daniel's story was not about finding love in the traditional sense, but about discovering and embracing himself. He had learned that being single at 30 was not a state of lack, but a canvas for creating a fulfilling and meaningful existence. His journey was a testament to the power of self-love, independence, and the endless possibilities that lay ahead when one embraces life wholeheartedly. Story: Creating Happiness on Her Own Terms, Mia's Inspiring Life. In the bustling city of New York, lived a woman named Mia. At 32, Mia was a successful marketing executive, known for her creativity and determination. She had a close group of friends, a loving family, and a fulfilling career. Yet, there was one aspect of her life that often drew unsolicited attention: her single status. Mia had been in and out of relationships over the years, but none had lasted. She often found herself at social gatherings, where well-meaning friends and family members would ask, "So, are you seeing anyone?" Mia would smile and politely answer, but deep down, she sometimes felt the societal pressure to be in a relationship. One sunny Saturday morning, Mia decided to take a break from her hectic life and spend the day exploring the city she loved. She visited a quaint coffee shop in Greenwich Village, where she sat by the window, savoring her latte and watching people go by. She found solace in these quiet moments, where she could reflect on her journey and appreciate her independence. As Mia sipped her coffee, she overheard a conversation at the next table. Two women were discussing their relationships, and one of them said, "I just feel like I'm not complete without him." Mia felt a pang of empathy, but also a sense of determination. She didn't want to feel incomplete because she was single; she wanted to embrace her life as it was. Inspired, Mia decided to embark on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. She started by making a list of things she had always wanted to do, but had put off for various reasons. At the top of her list was traveling solo. Mia had always dreamed of visiting Italy, and now seemed like the perfect time. A month later, Mia found herself in Rome, standing in front of the Colosseum. The sense of freedom and adventure was exhilarating. She spent her days exploring ancient ruins, savoring delicious cuisine, and getting lost in the narrow streets of charming villages. Each moment was a reminder that she could create her own happiness. During her travels, Mia met people from all walks of life, each with their own unique stories. She befriended a fellow solo traveler named Sophia, who was also on a journey of self-discovery. Together, they shared their experiences and dreams, forming a bond that transcended the brief time they spent together. Returning to New York, Mia felt rejuvenated and inspired. She realized that her worth was not defined by her relationship status, but by the life she chose to live. She threw herself into her work with renewed passion, started painting again, a hobby she had neglected for years, and joined a local hiking group to explore the great outdoors. One evening, at a gallery opening where Mia was showcasing her paintings, she ran into an old friend, Mark. They hadn't seen each other in years and quickly fell into easy conversation. Mark was intrigued by Mia's stories of solo travel and personal growth. They exchanged numbers and began meeting up for coffee and hikes, enjoying each other's company without any pressure or expectations. As months passed, Mia's life was rich with new experiences and deepened friendships. She found joy in her solitude and fulfillment in her pursuits. She and Mark grew closer, but this time, there was a sense of mutual respect and understanding. They were both whole individuals, choosing to share their lives without losing their independence. One day, as Mia and Mark stood at the top of a mountain, looking out at the breathtaking view, Mark turned to her and said, "Mia, being with you feels like an adventure. I admire your strength and the way you've embraced your life. I'm glad we reconnected." Mia smiled, feeling a sense of contentment and clarity. Thank you, Mark. I'm glad too. But remember, our happiness comes from within. We're choosing to share our journeys, not complete them. In the end, Mia's story was not about finding love in the traditional sense, but about discovering and embracing herself. She had learned that single life was not a state of lack, but a canvas for creating a fulfilling and meaningful existence. Her journey was a testament to the power of self-love, independence, and the endless possibilities that lay ahead when one embraces life wholeheartedly. Story: Choosing Independence. In the bustling city of New York, lived a young woman named Lily. At 28, Lily had a thriving career as a journalist, a beautiful apartment in Brooklyn, and a vibrant social life. Despite her achievements, she often found herself at the center of conversations about her single status. Lily's choice to remain single was a conscious one, rooted in her desire for independence and personal growth. Her friends and family were supportive, but curious. One evening, during a dinner party at her friend Emma's place, the topic inevitably came up. "Lily, you're so amazing. Why are you still single?" Emma asked, genuinely curious. Lily smiled, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. "I think it's because I value my independence and the freedom to pursue my passions without compromise. It's not that I'm against relationships, I just haven't found one that fits my life right now." Her friends nodded, some understanding and others still curious. Lily continued, sharing her journey of self-discovery and the reasons behind her choice. 1. Personal growth and career focus. Lily had always been driven by her career. From a young age, she knew she wanted to be a journalist, telling stories that mattered. Her dedication paid off, landing her a prestigious role at a top magazine. Being single allowed her the flexibility to travel for stories, work late nights, and fully immerse herself in her passion without worrying about neglecting a partner. 2. Financial independence. Growing up, Lily had seen her parents struggle financially and knew the importance of financial independence. Being single gave her control over her finances, allowing her to save, invest, and spend as she saw fit. She enjoyed the freedom of making her own financial decisions and planning for her future. 3. Exploring passions and hobbies. Lily had a wide range of interests, from painting to hiking to learning new languages. Being single gave her the time and space to explore these hobbies fully. She joined a local art class, spent weekends hiking upstate, and enrolled in a Spanish course. These activities brought her joy and a sense of fulfillment that she wasn't willing to compromise. 4. Social connections. Lily cherished her friendships deeply. She had a close-knit group of friends who were like family. Being single allowed her to nurture these relationships, spending quality time with friends, traveling together, and supporting each other's dreams. Her social life was rich and fulfilling, providing her with the emotional support and companionship she needed. 5. Redefining happiness and success. For Lily, happiness and success were not defined by a relationship status. She found joy in her accomplishments, her friendships, and her personal growth. She believed that being single allowed her to live authentically and pursue her true passions without external pressures. As Lily shared her story, her friends began to see her perspective. They realized that her choice to remain single was not out of necessity, but out of a desire to live a fulfilling and independent life. That night, as Lily walked back to her apartment, she felt a sense of contentment. She knew that her decision to remain single was right for her. She had built a life that she loved, filled with passion, adventure, and deep connections. In the end, Lily's story serves as a reminder that choosing a single life is a valid and fulfilling option for many young people today. It's a choice that allows for personal growth, independence, and the pursuit of one's dreams. For Lily, and many like her, singlehood is not a state of lack but a canvas for creating a rich and meaningful life. Bye and see you again in the next videos and stories.